Hello, it's Aunty Bev from Learn with Aunty Bev. Welcome to a new segment where today I will continue to do another experiment on exploring pH level. On the last video, I did an experiment on exploring pH level on the food and things that we eat and use on an everyday basis. And I did that using a litmus paper and a universal indicator. Today, I'll be doing the same experiment, but this time using a red cabbage as a pH indicator. Sounds strange, right? Why would a red cabbage be a pH indicator? Before I proceed to explain why, let's do a little recap. We learned that there are some materials or products may contain substances that can be too acidic or too alkaline. Too much acid or alkaline inside our body may produce harmful chemicals that can affect our liver, lungs, and kidney. A pH scale provides an indication of how acidic and alkaline a substance is, and it ranges from 0 to 14, with 7 being neutral. Anything that's lower than 7 indicates the amount of acid inside a substance and is usually represented with the color red. The lower the number goes, the redder it becomes. Anything that's higher than 7 indicates the amount of alkaline inside a substance and is usually represented with the color blue. The higher the number it goes, the darker the blue becomes. During the last experiment, I used a litmus paper and a universal indicator to test on a variety of materials such as milk, lemon juice, coffee, tomato juice, bleach, and soap detergent. We saw that on the litmus paper, it changed to either red to indicate acidity or blue to indicate alkalinity. On the other hand, the universal indicator shows a more specific colors, just like the chart over here. Green represents neutral, which is what water is, and from there it changed to become yellow, orange, and then red to indicate the level of acidity inside a substance. To indicate the level of alkalinity inside a substance, it changes from green it changes to blue, purple, and then violet. So how can a red cabbage be a pH indicator? A red cabbage contains a water-soluble pigment called anthocyanin that changes color when it's mixed with an acid or alkaline. Same like a litmus paper, the pigment turns red to indicate acidity and bluish-green to indicate alkalinity. Enough talking. Let's start on with our experiment. Let's begin with our experiment. You would need a head of red cabbage. Okay. Cut it off a little bit. All you need is actually 3 to 4 pieces of the big leaves. Put it inside a blender. I don't have a blender, so I'm using a food processor. Okay, just put it all inside. If it's too big, just chop it up into smaller little pieces. Now children, if you're using a knife, you gotta make sure that mommy or daddy is there to help you. Otherwise, you might hurt yourself. Just put it all inside. Okay, now you need hot boiling water. Again, please ask mommy or daddy to help you. Pour it inside your blender or the food processor. Okay, there you go. Can you see that the water is slowly turning to become blue? Because of the water-soluble pigment inside the red cabbage is changing a little bit of color. Let's process it now. Put this in. Just blend it until everything dissolves. Can you see that the color has changes to become purplish, bluish? Okay, I still have a little bit over here. Okay, I think it's ready. Let's take this out. Now because it's hot water, we put it on earlier. So kids, again, you got to be very careful with this. Ask mommy and daddy to help you. Take this out. And then strain it into a large pot or a container. Ooh, look at that color, so pretty. Okay. Alright, we are ready. this is how it looks like. Okay, the pH indicator. It does look a little bit dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more hot water inside it. You don't want it to be too dark or too light, so just nice, just like this would be good enough. Okay, now we just need to wait for it to cool down. So while waiting for our pH indicator to cool down, let's prepare some materials that I would like to do an experiment. I have lemon, white vinegar, I have some tomato over here which I've already blended into a juice. I prepared some coffee, milk, in this case I'm using a Yakult, water just to show you the neutral base, baking soda, toilet cleaner, and bleach. You can use anything that you can find at home, but again, some of these materials and products may be a little bit too harsh for you, so ask mommy and daddy to help you. Now that our pH indicator has cooled down, I poured it into a measuring cup so it's easy for me to pour into the containers. So I've prepared some see-through containers that I'm just going to put my pH indicator on it. If you have some test tube at home, you can actually use them. I don't have, so I'm just using these plastic containers. Okay, we are done. I prepared one here just for water, just to show you the color before it changes. This is the neutral basis, and then I'm going to start off with milk. Just 1 teaspoon of milk, or 2, and see how the color changes. Milk has a little bit of colostrum inside it, so that's the reason why it's a little bit more acidic. And colostrum is actually really good for babies because it promotes growth. So from milk, we move on to coffee. Just a teaspoon or 2. Can you see that the color has changes again? Coffee is a little bit more acidic due to the brewing process of the coffee beans. And people with stomach discomfort generally can't take too much coffee because coffee is a little bit acidic. So from coffee, we are gonna go into tomato juice. Let's see what happens. Just a teaspoonful of tomato juice inside. Okay, you got to wait for it to slowly change. I'm just gonna stir, just gently stir, or you can actually just move it a little bit. See how the color has changes to become a little bit more red? Now let's move on to vinegar. Just a teaspoon of it. Ooh, look at that color, it's so pretty. Vinegar has a pH level of 3 and it's quite acidic because it contains acetic acid. So from vinegar, I'm going to do lemon. So squeeze a little bit of lemon juice inside it. See how it changes color? Getting really red, isn't it? Lemon has a pH level of 2 and is quite acidic because it contains citric acid. Now, too much citric acid can cause tooth enamel, but when you drink lemon juice, it metabolizes, when it's digested, it metabolizes and turns to become alkaline. And lemon juice is actually really good for our body because it helps to boost our immune system. Let's move on with the alkaline part. So we go from water, which is the neutral, we go on to baking soda. Just gonna put 1 teaspoon inside it. Ooh, look at how it changes color. Shake it a little bit, it has turned to become blue. Baking soda, otherwise known as sodium bicarbonate, has a pH level of 8 to 9. From baking soda, I'm gonna move on to do toilet cleaner. Can you see that it has changes color to become purple? Toilet cleaner or cleaning materials generally have a higher pH level of between 10 to 12 because of the properties inside that is needed to kill bacteria. So you got to be very careful when you use cleaning materials because it can be quite harmful towards our skin if you use too much of it. It can cause skin dryness, skin peeling, so just be careful. Now let's move on to bleach. Bleach has a high pH level of 13. Look what happened when I pour this inside. Look at the pH indicator as it slowly turns to become colorless. Like any other cleaning detergent, bleach can be harmful towards our skin due to its cleaning properties. Too much bleach on our hands can cause burning sensation, and in worst case scenario, it can burn our skin. Ooh, look at the color. If you notice, there's two different colors. The colorless is at the bottom and a slight purplish, bluish color is actually hanging on top. So interesting, right? Now that we've experimented with certain materials that are acidic or alkaline, let's notch it up with something fun. What happens when you mix an acid and an alkaline together? I'm going to try that with baking soda. I'm going to mix it with white vinegar. Look at this. Baking soda is an alkaline, whereas a white vinegar is an acid. And when you mix both together, look at how it's bubbling up. It turns to become salt water. It's quite saltish. So you can actually use this mixture as a cleaning materials, or if your sink is clogged, you can actually use it as a drain cleaner. Now I'm going to try again baking soda with lemon. Same thing, I'm just going to put a spoonful of baking soda into this lemon. Let's see what happens. It turns to become a more neutral solution. Let's mix this up. And generally, you can actually use this mixture as an antacid for people who has too much stomach acid inside the stomach. Fun fact, what's the difference between a baking soda and a baking powder? Baking soda contains sodium bicarbonate, which has a pH level of 9 to indicate that it's an alkaline. Baking powder, on the other hand, contains sodium bicarbonate as well as calcium carbonate and cornstarch, which are both acids. So this makes baking powder a neutral basis. What happens if I put baking powder into the pH indicator? Let's try. Just a teaspoon, just like that. Put it inside. Look at it reacting. There you go. It's turning to become oblique. So interesting. In conclusion, different materials have different levels of acidity and alkalinity. You can't take too much of it, you can't take too little of it, you just need to balance it out. Now if you have too much acidity, you just need some alkaline to balance it out. And when you have too much alkaline, you just need some acid to balance it out. Try this fun experiment at home and observe the reactions when you mix acid and alkaline together. But remember to do this together with mommy and daddy because certain materials can be a little bit harmful towards you. Have fun experimenting! Now if you have enjoyed watching videos with Aunty Bev or love doing more experiments with Aunty Bev, click on the subscribe button down below. There'll be more fun and cool experiments to come. See you next time!